In the previous module, we discussed integrity, one of three important foundations of leadership. In this module, we're going to discuss another foundation, character. So your character is your personality. If you have good character, then you are reliable, honest, and you're of good courage. John Wooten, former NCAA basketball coach for UCLA, won a record 10 national championships in just 12 years. He had to say this: ability may get you to the top, but it takes character to keep you there. He was talking about the positive characteristics that both coaches and the players must carry both on and off the court. One of his former players, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, had to say the following about Coach Wooten.
But I'm glad I got a chance to play for this man. He was about excellence, excellence of character, the excellence of the team, the excellence that you achieve when you get an education, the excellence when you understand what a moral statement is with your life. That's what Coach Wooten was about, and that's what made him so special and so different. And that's what made him my friend for life.
U.S. Army General Norman Schwartzkopf, pictured here with then General Colin Powell, led the 750,000 troop coalition in the Gulf War. He stated this: leadership is a potent combination of both strategy and character. However, if you must be without one, then you should be without strategy. In other words, what he was saying, positive character is indispensable. Anthony Kerrigan is a former president of the U.S. Business and Industrial Council. He stated the following: the role of character always has been a key factor in the rise and fall of nations. And one can be sure that America is no exception to this rule in history. We won't survive as a nation because we're smarter or more sophisticated than others, but because we are stronger inwardly. In short, character is the only effective defensive wall against internal and external forces that lead to a country's disintegration or collapse. So again, character is an important key factor to leadership success. During the Revolutionary War, George Washington refused to accept payment for his services as Commander-in-Chief because he knew of the financial hardships that our new nation was facing. In fact, he also didn't even take any personal leave during the war. He served our country not as a politician focused on the next election, but as a statesman focused on the next generation. As the Revolutionary War raged on, Washington's army was constantly undersupplied and on the verge of destruction. Before he and his troops took shelter at Valley Forge for the winter of 1777, Congress and others were actually questioning his fitness for duty. Due to the horseback messengers at the time that were being intercepted by the British forces, he was unable to argue his case to his accusers. Washington actually stated the following: my enemies have taken an ungenerous advantage of me because they know that I cannot combat their insinuations without disclosing secrets that is of the utmost importance right now to conceal for the protection of our nation. So basically, George Washington, instead of defending himself and his own character and actions, he chose to defend our nation and its secrets. Now, this is an excellent example of statesmanship type of character. So let's talk about a different example. Who is this famous person that I'm about to describe? This person failed in business in 1831. They also were defeated for the legislature in 1832. They failed again in business in 1833. They suffered a nervous breakdown in 1836. They were defeated for the Speaker of the Legislature in 1838. And they were defeated for elector in 1840. But wait, there's more. They were defeated for Congress in 1843. And they were defeated again for Congress in 1848. So if you ask me, I would say I was describing a loser. It may be time to give up. But wait, it gets worse. They were defeated for the Senate in 1855. They were defeated for Vice President of the United States in 1856. and they were defeated for the Senate again in 1858. However, this person was elected the 16th President of the United States in 1860. He saved the Union, he ended slavery, and he ended the Civil War. So this person, of course, is Abraham Lincoln. The question is, when you face setbacks like this, do they make you bitter or do they make you better? Now, of course, Abraham Lincoln did have some wins during this period that I just described, but I wanted to highlight all these losses for you so you could understand what he had to push through to get to his ultimate goal. As an example of Lincoln's positive character, let's look further into his loss of the U.S. Senate in 1855. So Lincoln was running under the Whig Party, which would be the future Republican Party, against a Douglas Democrat named Shields. And he was also running against a third person who was a regular Democrat named Trumbull. Now, the main factor of the election was whether or not you were for or against the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which would allow slavery to expand in states such as Kansas and Nebraska. Lincoln was against the spread of slavery, so he was against the Kansas-Nebraska Act. His primary opponent in the other party, Shields, was for it. Now, the third candidate, a Democrat named Trumbull, was, like Lincoln, also against the Kansas-Nebraska Act. The voting revealed the following. 47 votes went to Abraham Lincoln to help stop the spread of slavery. 39 votes went to Shields to expand slavery. And then the third candidate only got 5 votes, Trumbull, but to also stop the spread of slavery. In those days, you had to have 51 votes or more to win a U.S. Senate seat. So no one had that many votes. To get past a standstill like this, what they would do is make some more speeches on the floor and then vote again. And that's exactly what they did. Unfortunately, none of the votes changed. So they did it again with no change, and they did it again with no change. At this point, Abraham Lincoln made a request. He advised his floor manager to drop him as a candidate and then ask everyone who voted for him to vote for the Democrat in the other political party, Trumbull, who agreed and stood for the same thing as Lincoln to stop the spread of slavery. At first, his floor manager refused, telling Lincoln that it made no sense for him to give away 47 of his votes to another candidate who only had 5 votes. Lincoln responded, quote, "The cause in this case is to be preferred to men." In other words, what he was standing for to stop the spread of slavery was much more important than him actually getting his seat in the U.S. Senate. The floor manager was stunned, but he delivered the message and asked for a revote. The results were as follows. 0 votes for Lincoln, 39 votes for Shields, no change, but 52 votes for Trumbull, the Democrat in the other political party, who also stood to stop the spread of slavery. Although Lincoln lost the election, he stayed true to his cause to stop the spread of slavery. Now, this is an outstanding example of both his positive character traits and his ability to put others and the entire nation above himself, even to his own detriment. A true statesman. So I have a question for you. Can you see what Lincoln did happening in our world today? If your answer is no, I totally get it. But here's some good news. Both you and I now have the opportunity and the responsibility to follow this path to make positive changes in our world today, where we put other people before ourselves. So this is a true test of our positive character. So join us in the next module where we continue to unpack great foundations of leadership.